Wassail, beautiful people. I just need to. This is this is an energy of a story that's been coming to me on and off for a couple of years. It's time to kill your inner child. Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I don't know what I fully think about it. I've spent 2 years considering this notion. I've often spoken about how focusing on the inner child's trauma and that whole journey infantilizes us. It keeps us broken. It keeps us stuck. And look, there's a whole industry out there that's foundations is working with the inner child. But before the inner child came along and that industry grew, there was something else. And this is really a video about it might be time for us to consider the possibility of something else again. Look, humanity is at a point where there's a lot of energies of a quantum leap, a little bit like going from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. It's like suddenly all over the whole world, everyone knew how to shift to a new consciousness created by a quantum opportunity. And I feel like this is no different. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to be very poked by what goes on in this reading. So I just have to explain what's been coming through since the fungus among us connected with me and said it wanted to offer me how to understand to move through the interface of magical materializations. So the visual that I keep getting and the energy that I keep tuning into is how the inner child is like a traumatized toddler who will never move past that trauma. And yeah, I'm saying kill the inner child. It's really, it has to be let go of. And for a long time I was like, we need a new grown-up, emotionally stable inner child. But actually we just need us. We need us in the now without the doubt. We need us in the now without the trauma. Because us in the now can head towards the future. But all the way you got this little traumatized toddler clinging to your leg like the 10 of Wands burden, screaming at you every time you try and move towards what your soul requires. This temper tantrum throws all the toys out of the pram and stops us moving. It holds us in the energy of reviewing the past. And this child, from my understanding, the fungus among us is saying it won't heal. It will always be bruised. It will always be damaged. And it will always cling to you, just poking you to stop your fluidity. So I'm going to shuffle some cards and continue to be a little bit controversial. Look, I'm so sorry for people out there whose income and their whole world exists through the inner child. But sometimes it's time to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, if you write something mean, I won't answer you because you have to grow up. We all have to grow up. You know, there's something about if you keep nurturing, respecting, and trying to soothe this inner child, you yourself are not allowing yourself to be grown up. Sorry. But that's what's coming through. This has been a difficult one. A difficult one to sit down and actually get on with. Because this is a tricky subject. And there's a lot of very toxic trauma attached. So, Liffruma Healing Oracle, what would you like to say about this? I don't know about that. That was a bit of an apology. We have got Björk, growth. This is almost... This is the new forest that grows after the fire. So, yeah, it's really interesting. There's almost like the card is revealing itself as before the new tree grows, before the new personal Yggdrasil that is your life moving forwards, the water meadow must take shape. So your emotions need to bloom, and that inner child screaming and throwing a tantrum is not going to get you through this. And look, it's really okay to admit that the inner child takes us from one mood to the other in extremes, in absolute extremes. But this really is time. You see, this is talking about adapting to relentless stress, as if we're forcing ourselves to adapt our thoughts, our philosophies, our emotions to soothe the inner child, and it's hindering our growth. And you know, there is a that's interesting, sorry. So just show you this. Oh my god, reach out. All of your senses and find you. Find you. Find your sacred song, your galactic sacred song that must resonate here on Earth. It's almost like every time you try to sing your sacred song, reach out, find you, move you into a new energy, this inner child, this traumatized toddler just has another fit, has another screaming moment to distract you from where you know you should be heading. Omen of astral shadow boxing. You see, I'm getting all these visuals of kind of, you know, the many different ways in which you need to let go of this child. It's not really an inner child. It's not a being. It's a memory of an emotional state that you're unwilling to let go of. So it's almost like we need to redefine. I'm hearing this energy here really strongly of the divine intention of the sacredness within you. So this child is a bully. It's a bully, and it's so self-centered that it believes only its needs must be met and not your grown-up adult needs to experience a wonderful world and life. This is sacred, sacral energy. There's something about a kind of a quickening of the heart, a quickening of emotions, a fluidity of emotions that's coming through here. And what I'm looking at is the symbols. So to go from this to this, it's almost like you can't even begin to imagine that there is a possible energetic pathway for this growth to take shape. It's almost bringing this here. Then you can begin to see between the Yo and the Björk, the beginning formations. But this here, this senses, this reaching out. What's behind the hoot? A bully, a traumatized child that needs you as both parents And it's a disruption. It's a disrupting energy. I think I might have to send this video to my friend first. Sometimes when I do really uncomfortable videos, I show it to my friend and then she says, well, if you're comfortable with that, which always means don't do it. So yeah. Old visions seen anew. Oh yeah, I'm old visions seen anew. Old visions of you seen anew, but also old visions emptied out. Like this child is a traumatic, mountainous blockage in your past that stops all the energy of your solar birth on your solar chart from reaching you, in the now moment. It's so huge. It has to be removed. The whole mountain. It's the space that exists after the traumatic mountain is removed. And that traumatic mountain is this inner child that's kicking off and throwing a tantrum. So, can we have some musical alchemy of astrology? Oh, they've gone so far away, like the inner child. So, what have we got from the musical alchemy of astrology? Oh, look. So, that's our mountain. That's our mountain. You need to be brave enough to reach out your senses and be the vibrating gong that just removes the mountainous blockage that is the traumatized toddler, this inner child. It's time to crush to powder, to deconstruct you, to reconstruct you. That's really interesting. I talked about this the other day, this lullaby of disquiet, and I was like, I've never quite understood what it means. But now, in the sense of it coming out in this reading, that lullaby, that child, that thing, that need to soothe, that need to sing a lullaby is just creating yet more disquiet. Yeah, it soothes, and you turn and you move forward to the next thing you know your heart and your soul wants you to do, and then the inner child wakes up and screams again. It has to go. It has to go. And then Aquavita. So Aquavita is our divine giant self. And as soon as that card showed itself, it was kind of, oh, looky here, people. 1881. Burn the forest, burn the trauma, remove everything, clear the woodland, clear the mountain, and then there's space for the divinity of your giant, huge, cosmic reality to fill the space that you, are in. We exist within the energy of our divinity. But that divinity can't reach us, see us properly if that little tiny traumatized inner child keeps kicking off. So this is about owning mistakes. Owning mistakes. Take responsibility for everything you call into you. Every time you soothe your inner child, it will just have a moment of being calm and then it will kick off again. It's time now to take the other avenue without the child. It doesn't belong somehow in your adult spiritual world. As I said, there's a whole industry out there that tells you how important. It's a spiritual cul-de-sac. It's time to skip this track. Skip the traumatized inner child. So I'm just going to ask for a couple more cards, because I think this will be something we go back to. Oh, the fungus among us has just turned up. Hygeia. Oh, that's interesting. So I've been picking up a message about how we need to jettison, well, no. The fungus among us, the bacteria, the fungus, the stuff on our bodies, all of that energy is about to be jettisoned, but is it being jettisoned as we remove the traumatized inner child? Is that inner child holding a slowing, a discomforting bacteria in us, outside of us, in the world around us, what we breathe? Is it holding on to certain bacteria that are hindering our divine pathway forwards? I don't know. We need to think about it. Holistic gut love, but I want to say it's holistic. To take out the holistic, it's the gut instinct to love. And you can keep loving the traumatized child, but that traumatized child is never healing. It's time to holistically love our journey, love ourselves, love all those moments where our inner child has been a nightmare, and change. There's a big energy here of microbiota mapping, a healing doorway, cradled linear comfort. You're not going to get cradled linear comfort because the toddler's in a pram or the toddler's hanging onto your leg and it's just screaming everything you wish were in your life to collapse, because it doesn't want you to be gifted. It wants the gifts, and the only gifts it wants is to have all of its traumas soothed until it decides to kick off again. And we can't keep repeating that same pattern. At some point we have to decide we have grown up. We no longer live in an energy of trauma, and we are the compass moving us forwards, mapping our microbiota and transforming time signatures. So what do we have in the I am repaired, I am heartened, because your heart can't work all the while this child squeezing your heart. And I am collective, I am symbiotic, I work with the fungus among us to heal, to be healed. I'm being told to show this mirror again. You know, switch from the old pathway, burn down the forest. The forest is the past. Burn it down. There's a root underneath the soil. And that, when it comes up, when it rises and grows, somehow is the very center of our divinity, and it will allow us to move forwards. So, be nice to me, not to your inner child anymore. Wassail, beautiful people.